Well, hi. Just came out to sit in the garden for a bit, and I thought I'd just see if there was anything to talk about. Not sure if you can hear the birds or not, but man, there are a lot of them out today. Oh, things have been getting different. If I think back even just 2 years ago, and compare at where we're at right now, I would never have guessed that everything that's happening was even possible back then. But then I also didn't think we would be in this position 2 years ago with the leadership that we've got. And that has become really threatening. And it's pretty much evident now that they have a goal in mind. And I just don't know how we are going to combat that. It's almost as though we are fighting the Civil War all over again, only for, well, kind of the same purpose, economics. But it was tied to slavery, and now it's still tied to the racial aspects of it, fascism. I had a lot of talks with my parents when I was growing up about fascism. My mom and her family, my grandparents came from Norway, but that was before World War I. And my grandfather got here and he enlisted in the American Army when he got here. I think it was before he even got his citizenship. I think he got his citizenship when he got out of the Army after the war. But so I have that immigrant status in me because of, I'm second generation on my mom's side. But on the other side, my dad's side, is all American, literally all American. We've been here since Jamestown on one side of my grandmother's side. We've been here since 1650 and on the other side, my dad's side. And the family is related to people. A lot of it isn't a blood relationship, but like Thomas Jefferson's wife was Martha Skelton, and Skelton is the family name of my grandmother. And there's a tie there. She's not a direct ancestor of mine. She married Thomas and had 2 girls, but then died following a miscarriage. She had peritonitis and died. So there were no male heirs coming down on her side of it. But just the fact that we were here came in 1610, Jamestown, the second charter, and we stayed. The Skeltons, they settled all around that whole area and settled up into Maryland, and they went south all the way down into Georgia and across to Texas and up north through Indiana, and then all the way across the country. And that same thing is with my dad's side, the Ralphs. We split up. I just had contact with some distant relative at some level in Texas, and he pronounces the last name like Ruth, and that's the southern pronunciation. The family moved south, and then we moved, my side of the family, my dad's side, moved to the north, up to Indiana. And both my grandmother and my grandfather were born in Indiana, but didn't meet until they happened to hook up in Nebraska. After my grandmother had moved there, my grandfather wound up there for some reason, and they met. And wound up living in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nebraska, Broken Bow area. The Skeltons are a big name down there. And in Indiana, the Skeltons also were a big name. One of them, Zachariah Skelton, he was a circuit judge circuit court judge for the federal government, and he would drive around up and down the Ohio River Valley and hold court, and he would also train the up-and-coming attorneys. And one of his students was Abraham Lincoln, and he traveled all the way up through Illinois and Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, all up and down that whole Ohio River area. So there's a historic thing there too. And then the fact that on both those sides of my family, they both served in the Revolutionary War. Family members served in the Civil War, the War of 1812, the war, every conflict this country has had, and not just since we've been a country. From the mid 1600s all the way until the late 1700s. So more than 100 years, 150 years probably, that we were involved in all of the settling and expansion and fighting that went on behalf of the British when we were colonies. So I've got a history, and this thing with Trump is really getting me worked up in a way, because it's tyranny, it's terror, it's terrorism on the world, not just here. But he thinks he's making this name for himself as a tough guy. And when Viktor Orban got shot down and thrown out of office here just recently, he was kind of Trump's go-to hero. He would always bring up Orban's name in relation to how he thought things should be run here. But then Orban was just a puppet in the NATO or the EU area for Putin, the inside man. So it's nothing I expected to be coming in my country. And if the midterms do what it looks like they're going to do, the next 2 years are going to be spent in trying to impeach him again. And every charge that he can be impeached on, the list is going to be so long, it's going to tie up the government for the next 2 years. But where do you start and stop punishing people for this stuff? It's every time you do, you're going to make the divide worse. So are we supposed to just forgive and forget and then rebuild? The man tore down the east wing of the White House and didn't even say by your leave. He just did it. And I really want to see his ass get the bill for the whole thing. He's bilked the country of money like crazy. He's stealing from everybody, but he always has. So I just don't know how we're going to cope with this. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding and high expenses. Our allies have let it be known that they aren't going to tolerate it. So there's all that rebuilding to do, not to mention that we've alienated Canada, and that means we can't even, his trying to become nationalism, you can't build nationalism on a continent and then alienate the other members of the continent. We're all Americans. It's North America. It's the United States of America. It's not America. It is North and South America. It's Central America. It's the Caribbean. It's all America. And that distinction puts a kind of like we are arrogant in the minds of all these other countries that are also in America. So we got to get ourselves in kind of an order here, because I don't think we can go out and nobody wants to even go out and do wars. that's pointless, and it never solves anything. War stops when one side or the other capitulates. And how many people have to keep dying for this just so that every time it comes down to some kind of a money thing? Human rights do not start wars, but it can be the thing that can bring other people, other countries into a war to protect human rights of others. But there's still, there's got to be a better way than to just pick up arms, send your youngest and brightest off to war and have them all get slaughtered, or have to face slaughtering somebody else and then live with it the rest of your life. I've seen plenty of that, and I don't relish that thought on anybody. But the time of fighting wars is gone, just like the time of having to protect yourself. There shouldn't be anything we have to protect ourselves from if we have something akin to a democracy. That was one of my neighbors. One of my neighbors who doesn't like the sign that's behind me. So anyway, yeah, that's just it. I don't know. You can't even get a conversation going with somebody because the division starts right away. I'm really impressed with this guy's, I can't remember his last name, starts with a P, up in Maine. He's gonna be the next senator, and he's got the right idea. He's practically saying everything I'm believing in, because it's not, the parties are not serving us. They're actually the divisive factor, and the thing is that they're both the same. And what are we going to do? We're going to elect more of that, and we're going to keep having the same thing, and it doesn't work. We need to get these parties either in line and understand how things are supposed to be, or get rid of the parties and just, you can gather in whatever groups you want, but can't be a factor in our government. You can't just always be dividing it down party lines. Somebody's got to represent the people, and the ones that are the people that are aware of that they're not being represented are the minority. The majority of us are just ignorant of the whole fact. And I don't know if they still teach civics in school, but I don't think they do, because nobody anymore knows anything about how the government is supposed to work. And I'm not sure we knew it before, because they teach to the plan, and the plan for a long time hasn't been try and teach them how it works, try and teach them how to work in the system. So yeah, we got a lot to do, and this current situation is not conducive to figuring it all out. Anyway, I just thought I'd sit here and talk while I had my coffee. I haven't had any coffee yet. Well, I'd like to get a conversation going with people, but nobody wants to talk about it, so I guess we'll wait. Closer we get to D-Day on this thing with the elections, the better we know. But he's already making moves to try and shut down the elections because he knows he's going to lose. And in 2015, I said once he gets in there, he's never going to want to get out. And he did. He said he never did lose, and they still put people up nominating for a lifetime position on a court, and those guys, none of them, 5 nominees sat there, or 4, and were asked if Trump won the election, or they asked him actually to say that he lost the election in 2020, and none of them would do it. And so that refusal to admit defeat by 4 appointees to the I think it's appellate court mostly that they're doing, but maybe the circuit court. They're lifetime positions though, and that's something else we got to get rid of. That is ridiculous. They need to have a term limit on that because they are not. And they can't be. We can't have a system where you can stack the court. The last time that happened, I think, who was it? Clinton. One of them. No, I think it went all the way back to Roosevelt. Anyway, they stacked the court so that we could keep Social Security alive, and that's how we wound up where we are. But maybe it's time to do that again. Maybe it's time we have 50 judges on that Supreme Court and they can all come to consensuses themselves, because maybe every state needs to have their own judge. Well, we do have that. We have district courts all over the country. But the thing is, we're putting all this stuff on the federal systems to fix. And maybe that's not the right way to do it. Because we have our regions and we have our states. And just my state alone here in Washington, we're divided right down the middle, literally. There's a Cascade Mountain range that cuts us right in half. And on the east side, it's like high desert. And on the west side, it's like a rainforest. And politically, we're the same way. We're a democratic state only because the population on the west side is Democrat. And that's how it is. We are just staunch blue on this side. It's not going to change because this is where all the business is and the workers and everything. The other side is agriculture, and you got Spokane and the Tri-Cities, and that's Spokane is, I think, mostly tied to ag, but I'm not sure what else it all has. The timber industry, I think, but there's a lot of things there. But then the Tri-Cities, that used to be Hanford's thing, and then they were building power plants down there, nuclear power plants. I worked on 3 of them. And so the division is the same here as it is nationwide. It is the rural versus the urban. And that division doesn't have to exist. It's because of the allocation of funds for stuff. It's always got to be to the funds. And we are fast outgrowing that because money isn't even money anymore. It hasn't been since Nixon. So there's nothing backing it. It's a fiat, just paper, that says this is $1. And if you give it to somebody, they'll give you in exchange $1 worth of something. Well, that $1 worth of something right now is becoming worth less, because it's like my donut thing. I just put a thing up I wrote up on Facebook, because a week or 2 ago I went and bought a box of donuts, a dozen donuts, and you get 3 different kinds, and you get 4 of each donut in the box, a dozen donuts. And they were about $3.99 a pop. And I went up there yesterday or the day before and bought another box of donuts. Same box, same size box. I put it right next to the one at home here I had, but now it only has 6 donuts. And the price is $6, $1 a donut. And that's about what I pay if I go to the bakery and get fresh made donuts every day, $1 a piece. These are mass produced and boxed by, like Hostess or somebody. It's not Hostess, it's some other brand. But so that whole thing is a real big economic standard for me. I'm looking at the price of bread going up. I'm looking at everything around that grocery store, and I don't have to go compare it to years ago. I can compare it to weeks ago. And the prices are doubling and then doubling. And where's it going to end is you're going to go in, and a loaf of bread, like in Germany during World War II, is going to cost you 1,000,000 marks. Well, $1 million for a loaf of bread. That would be the equivalency. So we got to rein this in, and we got to do it before it can't be reined in. And we got to quit having wars without going through Congress first. And you don't start a war or even get in a battle unless you have an exit strategy in case you lose. And we haven't won a war since World War II. Not a one. A yellow jacket. Okay, enough talking. I'll let you go. Have a good one. Like, subscribe. Leave me a chat. Okay, thank you. Bye.